Welcome to the season preview show for the sixth season of the Ocho Trivia Challenge. I am the commissioner slash league host slash player Matt, and I am here with the co-host, co-commissioner, co-game host, co-teammate Kyle Qualls, the life of the league, the newly employed Kyle Qualls, to drop some news on this broadcast. Kyle, how are you doing this evening?
I'm good. Yeah, newly employed. I will be moving to the central time zone to be closer to my wonderful Don't Blow It. And just as I'm looking at this title screen right now, I realize that once we get to season 8, we should just call it season Ocho.
That's a good point. Yeah. So you're already full of good ideas that you can pass on to your next employer. Um, I will say that I don't have this in my predictions, but I'm gonna say we're gonna go undefeated because you're gonna access new areas of your brain now that you're a full time employee. It's gonna boost you up a step. All right. Enough of the patting you on the back. Let's move on and let's get into the preview show. So first, we'll get the less interesting stuff out of the way. What's changing for the next season? No teams. Everyone's coming back once again. Very exciting. So a couple of rule changes. No one can phone a friend any league member. That's the Steven Bochner rule because he accounted for about 80% of total NBA points in the league last year. That's gone. Next, for any non-fictional person, so like a historical question or an athlete, first and last name is required. It's not required for like a movie character. First name is fine. That's the Michael Collins rule, refined. Michael Collins rule 2.0. We're going to start tracking individual stats. That's going to be very exciting. The point of that is just to make sure we can give some credit to some of the underrated players in the league. Maybe we have some of those in this Zoom right now. Who knows? And next, for pop culture categories, the one niche per category rule is removed. You can now ask for one niche per franchise. So cuts both ways. You're allowed to ask for 3 movies if you want to. But Alex and Spencer can't ask for a Goosebumps book, a Goosebumps movie, and a Goosebumps TV show. A little bit of a refinement. Still one category for sports on the niche. This just applies to pop culture. Lastly, we have some new crossover protected rivalry matchups that will play for the second time at the end of the season. With Mike Qualls and Ken Sandusky, Fletcher and Petey have been asking for this. They want the smoke, and they're gonna get it. Next, Shop House Hypnotoad get a title game rematch. They'll get to play 2 times. And finally, Free the Business with Manchester United. I have absolutely no reason why that's a thing, except pink and purple go together. I don't know. Someone had to be left over, so here, that's what it is. That's really all it is. Okay, that is what is new in the league this year. In addition to new rules, we have some new players on new teams. First up, Alvin and Noah off the team syncretism. We'll have some comments on that in a minute from both the people in this meeting. Next, Nick Smith, welcome to With My Qualls. Future MVP, future All-Star, future league champion, probably all of those things. And lastly, we have another Nick going to Washington, but I don't know anything about him, and no one gave me a picture of him or any information. So, anyone's guess. Paul, I'm going to bring you in now. Give me your thoughts on Noah, Nick, and whether you think any of the rules we discussed a minute ago are going to impact on the league.
So Noah is a two-timing core. We're glad he's gone. We didn't need him. He was just a leech on the beautiful shark that is with my calls. Nick is a thrill to have on board. We're lucky to have him. I think the Bochner rule needs to happen. When we first added the phone a friend, it was about high variance and about being prepared, and it became the exact opposite of that. No one had to be prepared, and they were just going to call Steven no matter what. So yeah.
Okay, so a lot of things changes to the league. Now, how is that going to affect the league? Next up, we have what I'm calling Fraud Watch. In honor of individual points being tracked, we've decided to recognize or predict who we think will score more points than their current league reputation would suggest, and who will score less points than their current league reputation will suggest. Now I've made a scale for this. It's a Shaq based cat like a little segment we're doing here. Here are the vibes. It's either a player that we weren't familiar with their game and we owe them an apology, or a player where they can't fool us and we are familiar with their game because they're overrated. So we're gonna alternate going through. We've each picked three for each type of player. Qualls, you're up first. And for a player you weren't familiar with their game, you're going to be impressed by this season. You've gone with Andrew from Mentally Illest.
Yeah, I feel like Steven and Brian get a lot of the shine, but I think Andrew has certainly made some contributions, especially last season, to their run to the playoffs. This is not just an attempt to get him to stop saying I'm bullying him. That's about half of it. I do think he will score more than would one would think. I think it's a pretty well-rounded effort on that team, as opposed to what some would think.
Okay, interesting. And I will say, Andrew has told me he's been testing out a new niche and practicing all offseason. He asked me specifically to include that on the show. So this gives me an opportunity to slip that in. Okay, for someone whose game I was not familiar with, I'm going to say Jake Footer, which is an interesting one because I think we all know how good he is. Perennial all star. My opinion is just that we need to stop talking about Footer as an all star and start considering him an MVP level player. He doesn't get the votes for that like he should. Maybe this is a huge year for him and he finally wins that. So, yeah, Jake Footer, we all know he's good, but I think we're going to realize he's even better than we think. All right. On the other side of things, Kyle, you went ahead and picked Craig for someone whose game you are familiar with.
Yes, he cannot fool me. So Frank Chester missed the playoffs last season after being, I think, the only team to have two All Stars. So someone's not pulling their weight. I think Craig, his complete like lack of knowledge on sports does hurt the team a little bit, and I think that'll be shown in the points.
I've actually gone with someone who has Frank Chester United connections as well, ex teammate Leaf. My theory here is that I think Leaf, how do I put this? Not everyone in the league is familiar with every player in the league. And Leaf has done a really good job of making sure that everyone knows who he is. And that means when it's time for award season and people see only a couple options and they say, oh, we know who Leaf is, so we'll vote for him. Leaf won Most Improved Player and Rookie of the Year. And I'm not sure, at least especially on that Most Improved, that accolade was necessarily deserved because I don't think Leaf has really improved at all. He's always been fine. But I think that he gets more recognition than he should solely because of how outlandish he is, because it's just a brand with him. It's not about the talent. And now that we have the hard data to show the talent, I don't think it'll match his notoriety in the league. So that's what I've gone with here. All right.
Gone with the all press is good press approach.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Back to a positive note here. You've gone with Eli.
Yeah, I think it's not all Spencer on Hive Mind. I think Eli, first of all, his niches are incredible, and I think uh, once we have the stats to show just how much of a contributor he is, we'll be pleasantly surprised.
Well said. Yeah. The I don't know. I feel like Eli's like the mainstream underrated person. It's like if everyone says someone is underrated, are they really underrated? But maybe he'll be even above our expectations. All right, I went with Fa for multiple reasons here. I think he's an underrated player in general, and I also think that certain past events have colored some people's opinions of him in a negative light. But even without any sort of gimmick, remote, etc., he is still a very solid player. He's a league champion now, arguably the second best player on a championship team. And you're very familiar with that role, so you know how important it is. So yeah, I think that he doesn't always get his flowers because of maybe some mistakes in his past. It's like Richard Nixon, like even if he did good things, no one cares now. So yeah,
Or Michael Vick. I don't know.
no, he's
if you can
he's,
play, you can
he's
play.
we're pro Michael Vick in this league.
Of
Um,
course.
all right, so that's my take there. Okay, next up, you've gone with Vigran for someone you are familiar with.
So we're 2 seasons now removed from Vigran's MVP season. And last year, I think he was largely checked out, but also he just didn't get that many questions right. I think, and on a new team, you would think that he would be the quote unquote first option, but let's see if that actually plays out.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, if his new teammates can get him to care again, then he'll be really good. But maybe he's just lost so much from having to put up with what he's had to put up with from a teammate perspective the last 2 years that he doesn't have it in him anymore. Okay, I went with maybe a hot take here. I went with Steven Bochner, and that's because he's a great player, but he was an even better phone a friend. And I think about 80% of the NBA points in the league came exclusively from him. When you take all of those away, people might be like, oh, those points were never for his team. And as we mentioned, two All Stars didn't make the playoffs, so both of them couldn't have been that All Star level, or else they would
Mhm.
have been. So yeah, I think Steven has a little to prove. The NBA expertise unquestionable. Outside of that, baseball, college basketball, good, but really not too much else. So I think he needs to step up this season if they want to make the playoffs. All right.
There's a phenomenon with Steven where like if he gets asked a question as a phone a friend, he knows it instantly, but if he gets asked that same question as a player, he can't do it. So I don't know what the deal is with that.
He should turn his like video off during games and then just let Craig ask him the question as if he was a phone a friend and he would get it right. That's my thought.
Yeah,
Okay.
deep analytics. Yeah.
Now you've gone with yourself for this next one.
Yeah, I want to, maybe this will age poorly, but and we can all, have a laugh about it at the end of the season. But I want to shoot my shot a little bit. I was I was one of the top scorers in this past summer tournament. I feel like Kyle Qualls, the trivia player, is like a lime Lacroix or Timothy Chalamet's performance in Wonka. Everyone shits on it, and I don't know why. I don't even think they know why they do it. I think they do it because everyone else does it. I do. I am a bit of a disadvantage. I feel because anything I know, Matt will probably also know, so that will like split our points. But even then, I think people will realize that I'm actually kind of good, and that I should have made an All Star team before season 6.
Well said. Yeah, maybe this will be your finally your year in the spotlight to make an all star team. I'd like to say that I think you know maybe some negative teammates in the past have harmed your reputation. Maybe a certain player that is not that much of a contributor has decided to always say that you're the third option and he was the second option when I'm not sure that was the case. And all of a sudden he's on a different team because he couldn't make the cut at Lick My Claws. So
It's
that's
been
all
a
I'm
hot
gonna say.
minute.
Yeah, because we cut him. That's our story, and we're sticking to it. He didn't choose to leave. Okay,
Leave him alone.
I've gone with Steven Rosenbaum from the Macabros. Could part of the reason he's underrated be that he's like 40 and has kids and isn't even in the group text because he doesn't want any part of the social aspect of the league? Probably, but he's a really good player. Every player in the Macabros offers something. So they came in sixth place last season, but I think they had the usual first season learning curve. I expect an improvement. And I mean, like, the first few weeks, he was like lights out on some stuff. Like Italian food, he knows everything. It's unbelievable. So yeah, I have high expectations for him. I think he flew a little bit under the radar because he has some loudmouth teammates, to put it lightly. But yeah, very good player, arguably the best player on that team. I think he should have been an all star, and I expect him to be this season. Okay, last one. Last two people that we're going to slander on this show tonight. You got with Petey.
Yeah, PD, he has talked a big game for 5 seasons now, and I don't know where his confidence comes from. In a lot of ways, I'm envious of that. He, they're Sandusky's daycare. They're very hit or miss by season. It's supposed to be a good year for them. It's like Venus rising, Moon falling, even number season. So they're supposed to be good, but I don't know if he's the second best player on the team. So I don't know. Let's see if the stats show expose him or prove his confidence was justified.
I will say, his status as a player is, regardless of what you just said, higher than his status as a GM after that performance in the summer tournament. Some very questionable picks did not work well for him. All right. So for my last one, I've gone with Calvin. My theory here is that his team for the past 3 seasons, mostly the past 2 seasons, has just been completely atrocious, like so bad. And I know, did he have the most help? Not really. But Vigran made the championship game with his two teammates. So like I feel like Calvin, if he wants to be on that level, should have showed us more. Speaking of Vigran, that's Calvin's teammate now, as well as Noah in a lesser manner. And Calvin is not used to having two teammates that get questions right very often. So that's going to take a lot of his points away. So that's something to look out for. Calvin's a good player, but now he has to share the wealth a little more, and that might hurt his stats. All right.
Yeah, yep.
So that's it for Fraud Watch. Now we're going to get into our projected standings as well as what the league has decided the standings will be for the next season. There they all are in their glory. Qualls, we're going to run through yours first. You can kind of just take us through and explain to us how you came to each team's standing.
Yeah, lick my qualls. You gotta believe in yourself. Looking at the league standings, which I haven't seen yet, it looks like they agree. Though it's been 2 seasons in a row where we haven't finished in first, so far from a given. Haven't finished in first in the regular season and haven't won the championship, so the trophy case is getting a little bit bare. Chicken Hawks, they're obviously really good. They're going to be in contention every year, so they're an easy second choice. Hypnotoads, don't want to underestimate them and add bulletin board material. They did just win the championship. I just don't think they're as good of a regular season team as Chicken Hawks or Lick My Qualls. Priapism, I like the makeup of this team a lot. I think if Vigran can return to his MVP form and Calvin can be like an all-star player, then this is a very dangerous team, and they could even go really far in the playoffs. Chop House, they're coming off of a final. I just don't think they're better necessarily than the teams in front of them, but still very good. Sandusky's Daycare, higher than I would have liked to put them, but they did. But it is the even number season, so give it. After what I watched last year, I can't possibly imagine them finishing sixth, but they're going to. They're going to make the playoffs. It's the law.
Yep.
Hive Mind won the championship 2 years ago, but seemed to just struggle in the regular season. They lose to teams they shouldn't lose to, and it seems like they always just struggle to sneak into the playoffs. Macabros, I think they're too good at sports knowledge to really miss the playoffs. I think they'll be back. Frankchester United, they missed them last year. I have them missing again. You think the talent's there, but they just haven't shown it to us. Don't blow it, my beautiful sweet boys. I had to do it to you. I'm sorry. I think they're another team that will be very hurt by the phone a friend, maybe more than any other. The new phone a friend rule. So I don't know how well they'll do. Mentally illness, just not a lot of sports knowledge. They did make the playoffs last year, but just based on the eye test, I don't know how they did it. And then Washington, they're finished last. I think the last 2 seasons they have a new player, but we don't. Again, that's an unknown, so we don't know how good they're going to be.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we'll take it through my standings. I have the Chicken Hawks first. Regular season juggernauts. Playoffs less so, but this is about the regular season. I have Priapism in second place. I'm very high on them. That Vigran Calvin combination, even though I just slandered Calvin a little bit, and I have no faith in Noah. I think maybe combined they still have a lot to offer. I have the Macabros third. I'm very high in the Macabros. That's a tough division. Anyone could win it. But I do think that they have a lot of ability to win regular season games because they're so well rounded. And then I have the Hypnotoads in fourth. Their division is probably the weakest one on paper right now, but none of the teams are also bad. Everyone's kind of crunched in the middle. So they won the championship, so they get to be my pick in fourth. I have Lick My Qualls in fifth. I did mine a little different because I filled out my standings as if it was the way we do the playoffs. So I have Priapism winning our division, which means we can't be higher than fifth. If I was just purely doing it by record like you did, I would have had us third above Macabros and Hypnotoads. So I'm not trying to play us down too much. Maybe some new chemistry clicking into place with Nick, down year Bama, but by the end of the season, hopefully prime Bama situation. So it might take us a minute, but I think we'll get there. I have Sandusky's in sixth because it's an even season. I had them in seventh actually instead of Chop House, but then I was like, oh, even season, so I just bumped them up a spot. There's no reason they shouldn't be in front of Chop House. I just felt like I had to. Chop House I have in seventh. They're gonna be mad at me, but I want to stress to them that I think that them, Sandusky's, and Macabros will all finish within, and Hypnotoads will all finish within a game of each other, if not tied with each other. So it's like it's no slight to Chop House. They could have been fourth on here. It literally was just about a random tiebreaker. I think they're very good, and even though they're in the seventh, 5 through 8 don't really matter because they're wild cards. So no one's gonna pick Chop House like first. So realistically, it's no big deal. I'm not coming for Will Primos with this. Is my point. Um,
You, oh, but you are
yeah.
because he's already drafting his message to the group chat.
Manchester United, I have an eighth. I agree with you. The talent is there. The fit is there in terms of like their players are good at different things, but somehow they just disappoint me every year. Which, to be fair, when they were winning a lot of games, they had really bad stats, and we just assumed that they were getting hard host games, but maybe they just weren't that good. Nevertheless, I have to put them eighth because I have a hot take that Hive Mind will miss the playoffs, and I had to put someone in there to make that come true, which you will see later in my bold predictions. So I have Hive Mind in ninth. Like you said, very middling regular season team. The rest of the league is leveled up. They haven't made any changes. So yeah, I have them just missing out. Mentally illest, I have in 10th. I'm going to have more on that later. Don't blow it. I have an 11th solely because they can't phone a friend Steven anymore. That's really tough for them. And I have Washington last. If you are the worst team and you lose your best player, I can't put you above 12. That's just the rules. So those are my standings. And I will run through what the league consensus was. This was on like 16 or 18 votes, so over half the league voted, or about half the league voted. Lick My Qualls first, very flattering. Chicken Hawk second. I mean, I don't think anyone will put them lower than second. Hypnotoads third, reigning champs. Shop House in their right spot at fourth. That's where they belong, even though neither of us put them there. Hive Mind in fifth, so they're much higher on them than we are. Macabros sixth. I think that's pretty fair. Very strong team. Sandusky's seventh, so they also believe in the even year blessing, I guess it is, more than a curse. Priapism in eighth, so a little lower on them, but still in the playoffs. They have Frankchester United ninth, same as you, only one below me, so they're kind of very set in that area, according to everyone. Mentally ill is 10th. Don't blow it, 11th in Washington and 12th. So, Qualls, I don't know about you. Nothing really surprised me from the league standings.
Not super surprising. I'm a little bit surprised at how down everyone is on Priapism, given that uh, kind of it seems like everyone recognizes Vigran as a good player, Calvin as a good player. Maybe Noah just drags them down that much.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of. It's just that everyone thinks that Noah will be a locker room cancer. Is that why we didn't win the title the last 2 seasons? Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, we have our bold predictions. This is where we traditionally get absolutely flambéed in like 6 months when we may say something wrong and people get really mad. You're going to go first, and your first bold prediction is that Preston will win Most Improved.
Yeah, I think he's due. I've been high on him for a while. I don't know why. It seems like sometimes he just, it really is just kind of luck of the draw with him. Sometimes he knows a lot of things in a game. Sometimes he doesn't know any. I'm just predicting he's going to get a lot of those games and he's going to make a big jump.
Yeah, he is one of the bigger wild cards in the league. But I mean, he knows music, he knows his niches, and on the other pop culture stuff he can hang around. So why not? Okay, I've decided that Steven Constant takes from Mentally Illest will make the All Star team. He's gonna have a really good year, but his team will have a worse record than last year. It's not really a slight on his teammates so much as just the league has gotten better. They're in Priapism's division. They're in our division, so they have to play Priapism twice, who I think are one of the best teams now. They have to play us twice. So they just have a really tough schedule. Oh, and their rival is the Macabros, and they have to play them twice. So brutal schedule, but I think Steven's an amazing player, so he will make the All Star team. But instead of going like 5-9, they might go like 4-10.
Mhm.
Your next bold prediction.
Yes. Spencer will win least improved. So last year I predicted Primos would win least improved, and then he won most improved. So this prediction does not have a good track record. Uh, so the new rule where Hive Mind will not be able to phone a friend Steven. Uh, they won't be able to have a reliable basketball phone a friend. I think will hurt the team overall. I think also the fact that no one can phone a friend Spencer for hockey will kind of make us think that he's not contributing as much. If they just have a mediocre regular season, which they've been prone to do, uh, then I think Spencer could be shown to be the least improved player. And also, thinking back to last season, down the stretch, he was missing survivor niches, which are usually money for him. He was missing all these, in Goosebumps, even all these niches that we have come to know as reliable. So yeah, let's see if he can prove me wrong.
True. I mean, yeah, if Spencer has won an MVP, he thinks of himself as an MVP level player. Well, the two-time MVP of this league, Alex, has his two teammates, who I won't say anything else about, and he is like the one seed every season. So why can't Spencer be above 500? That's all I'm saying. I think you make it. Okay, more hive mind slander. I have been missing the playoffs. Hey, I don't even have anything against that team personally.
Yeah.
It just feels like they haven't impressed me in the regular season in either of their seasons in the league, even though they won the championship because they got hot. So if Priapism are going to be really good, then someone has to drop out. And I also think Sandusky's an even season, so they will make the playoffs because that's the way it works. So someone else has to drop out. I think mentally illists don't blow it. Obviously, are two teams that might fall back down to earth. But then, if Frankfurt United are going to have a little bit of a comeback, then I think Hive Mind are the next most vulnerable team out of the remaining like six teams that made it last year. So I think they will maybe even be like one game worse than they were the last two seasons. They were 500 the last season. They go like 6-8. Maybe they miss out on like a tiebreaker situation. Okay, your last bold prediction.
Yes, Washington's new player TBD will make the All Star team. I've been big on TBD in the past. Uh, not no offense to Mars and Miller, but if Washington's going to do good, this new player is going to have to carry some weight. He's going to be able to stat pad, and I think if they get off to like a hot or even decent start, then he could definitely make the All Star team.
Yeah. And my last bold prediction, Priapism wins the championship. Maybe this involves benching Noah. Maybe he just isn't as much of an issue for them. Maybe Vigran can have a tighter leash on his locker room issues. But yeah, I have them winning the title. Really good team. I think Vigran will be reinvigorated by good teammates. Calvin, same thing. We didn't really talk about that. I think they'll both, be happy to be on a team that can win some games. I will say they beat. I have no idea. I didn't decide who they'll be in the championship game. Let's say not Hive Mind, that's for sure. Chicken Hawks. Maybe Chicken Hawks make the championship game and lose. But yeah, I have Priapism winning it. And yeah, I mean, that would be very impressive for them. That means Lick My Qualls drought extends another season, so I wouldn't like that. But we shall see. All right. Last thing for the evening, we have the league's bold predictions. Now, when I sent out the form to have everyone decide on the standings, I also let the league make their bold predictions, and we selected some of the best ones to be included tonight. And we have a guest caller now who is going to join us for this segment. Longtime listener Neil. Neil, how are you this evening?
I'm doing well, boss. I'm doing well, boss. It's an honor to meet you, Matthew and Kyla.
Very New
How's
Jersey.
it? How are you two fellas doing today?
Oh, we're good. I wasn't expecting this bit you were doing, but yeah, we got a first time, long time.
I sure hope that Neil's not going to do the voice the whole time, but yeah.
No, I've been on Boomer and Cotton. I've been on Mike Francesa. None of that compares to this. This is the highlight of my life.
Oh my god. I thought he dropped it in the middle there, but then he pulled it back out. All
No,
right.
he pulled it
Nah.
So let's
Commit to the bit.
these leagues bold predictions. Neil, yours made the list. It's not first, but we'll let you talk about yours, and then I'll read them off.
Yeah,
We'll
sure.
get everyone's thoughts on each one of them. First one, Primo says that the Macabros will win the division, but then lose in the first round. I included this because it's incredibly specific, and I had the exact same bold prediction, word for word, on my bold predictions on the last slide, and I had to change it because Primos came in with the same thing, which is hilarious. To expand upon my version of the bold prediction, Macabros are the 3 seed in my poll, and they would play Sandusky's in the first round, and that would be Petey's fucking Super Bowl. And I have Sandusky's coming out on top. So Qualls and Neil. Qualls first, then Neil. What do you think about this one?
I guess some people are higher on Macabros than I am. Don't get me wrong. I like them as dudes. I think their sports knowledge is definitely their biggest strength, and it's also the most important thing for this particular league. In that specific scenario you talked about, I do think the battle tested Sandusky's would be at a bit of an advantage.
Neil.
Yeah, make a bros, make a wish. What's the difference? Do we know? We don't know. We don't. They might cruise to the playoffs, but then they might falter. We don't know, and I think that the Sandusky's, he would step up to the plate. He would win that game. He would do what he needs to win that game.
Thank you for ruining the video.
Yeah, I really didn't think this was going to continue, but here we are. All right. Well, next up, we have Neil's prediction. Hive Mind and Don't Blow It will combine for one correct basketball question all season. Neil, this is your prediction, so I'll let you talk about it first, and then Qualls can take it from there.
Yeah, I think with the rule changes and just how these two teams are, how in the world do they possibly get a basketball question right? Riddle me that, Batman. How do they get a question right? I don't know. I don't see it.
Kyle.
Is Okay, I'm curious. Is this does this count other phone of friends, is it just one
Who?
correct question?
Who? Who would they phone a friend?
Well, maybe they have other people. I'm just saying, is this
Who?
friends, or is this of their own accord?
I
I do.
think this includes phone a friend.
Okay, I do think the new rule change screws these two teams in particular. Uh, don't feel too sorry for them though; they did kind of bring it on themselves. I think it'll be more than one. Set the over under at one.
Qualls is taking the over. All right, next prediction. Spencer with a very hot one. This is the last season where the current Chicken Hawks roster plays together. Okay, the more interesting part of this prediction is who is more likely to get the boot from the Chicken Hawks team. Qualls, you go ahead, and then we'll hear from whatever persona Neil is doing.
I guess he's just doing New Jersey sports radio calling.
Yeah. You win one championship and it goes to your head.
Yeah. All right. I don't think anyone's gonna get the boot. I think Leaf will leave. He joined this team. He was basically brazenly ring chasing. He admitted it.
Yeah.
And if they go 3 seasons in a row, crashing out of the playoffs in embarrassing fashion, will he seek greener pastures?
Neil.
Leaf, and I said this before, but Leaf reminds me of a PJ Tucker. That man can't do jack diddly squat on his own, and he's like a little leech stuck on a shark. Can't do jack diddly squat, and he's the reason they lose games. He leaves to chase other rings.
Have we noticed that Neil is slipping into like an old timey Southern woman accent?
I got range. I seen Oppenheimer.
Next up, Petey says that the Hypnotoads will lose in the first round of the playoffs. I included this especially because we knew we had a guest caller on. Neil, care to respond to this one?
Yeah, I'll stay in my own persona for this one. Petey, who has never tasted anything but his teammates screaming blatantly wrong answers in the finals, would cry just for a morsel of almost winning a championship. But unfortunately, he never will. He's a sheep in lion's clothing. Ain't nothing that man can do that could remotely step to anyone on our team. He would be grateful to be in my position. We lose in the first round, we're happy with that. We've won a chip. Don't care.
All right, what more is to be said there?
I'm back.
Last one. Jeremy said that Coop will get suspended for harassing a host. Kyle, as the host most likely to get harassed, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, nothing else to be said. I will add that I appreciate that Jeremy, as Coop's teammate, has the awareness to put this as a prediction, even though he's on his team.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's some of the league's boldest predictions, so people can yell at these the way they yell at Kyle and I. Neil, I guess thank you for joining us tonight, even though I don't know.
Thank you for having me, Matthew.
I can't believe we let this happen. This is why we can't have nice things. But thank you everyone for watching our sixth season preview show, and it's been a lot of fun. Looking forward to the new season in less than a month. We will see you all then.